There was a big story out of the NFL that came out on Saturday that Derek Carr, after 11 seasons in the league, is retiring. The Saints quarterback deciding to walk away at 34 years old, obviously dealing with the shoulder issue that popped up recently that he suffered in a Week 14 game allegedly against the Giants. So his now former head coach, Kellen Moore, spoke about Derek Carr's decision and the process.
First of all, you respect and appreciate so much that Derek's done in this league, and for the way he's done it, the on-the-field performance, the off-the-field person that he's showcased, and the impact he's had on so many people in this profession is really, really special. And so certainly, coming here, I've always had so much respect and appreciation for him. And as we've gone through this process, obviously this is how it kind of ultimately was settled. It was really good communication through the whole process as far as navigating this. Again, challenging circumstances with him being injured at the end of the year, and then just kind of navigating things throughout the whole offseason process.
So there's Kellen Moore discussing the decision of Derek Carr to retire and the process there in New Orleans.
He's 34 years old. Do you guys think he's done?
No. I think he was done with New Orleans. That's what I think.
Dang.
It sounds kind of fair, all things considered. And I think they probably, when you're looking at the team, the roster, the transition they're going to have to make here in the next year or two, I don't want to say it's going to be a rebuild, but it feels like this might be a great time to reset and to rebuild. They could put themselves in position to have the number 1 overall pick next year. It could be Arch Manning following in his footsteps, Archie, which would be quite possibly one of the coolest, greatest stories ever. Like the fact that a guy could get drafted number 1 overall to the same team his grandfather played for would be pretty sick. But again, I don't want to get ahead of ourselves. Just having the number 1 overall pick, they could be in control of next year's draft, which would be huge. So not advocating for that, not even saying that's like a real thing. Because for coaches and players, if you have an awful season, you're Kellen Moore, it's on your resume, man. As a head coach, it's really hard to overcome some of that stench because they've got to then, that next job, if things don't work out, if you can't turn it around, they've got to find a way of making it seem appealing, of why they're going to hire you. Well, it didn't work out in New Orleans. Well, okay, well, what happened in New Orleans? That's always going to be the conversation anytime it doesn't work out. So to sit there and say, well, this team's going to tank, I wouldn't call it that. I think a lot of organizations try to remain competitive, but shuffle their roster or rebuild their roster in times when you have a veteran quarterback who is productive, who decides to retire. He's not in the picture. And it's a combination of Rattler, Jake Haener, and Tyler Shuck, which I'm sure there's veteran players on that team who are not thrilled about what this season looks like. They're probably not overly optimistic. It's kind of like we talked about previously. All 32 teams walk in that training camp. They're like, all right, our goal is to win the Super Bowl this year. It's like, all right, is that really their goal? Like, I don't think they can win the division, let alone the Super Bowl. So you find yourself in this position now looking at it saying, it's pretty crazy that Derek Carr healthy, you view them as a more competitive team. Without him healthy, and I'm not saying he's the best quarterback in the league, but he definitely provides them a boost. But it feels like there's something off there with him and the team, and that he wants to find his way maybe back somewhere else, maybe back west, be closer to his family, and finish his career there. Because at 34, and really he's not that far removed from playing some good football, I just don't think he's done.
I don't know if he's done or not. I think that character-wise, he seems like the type of guy that has that honor system where he wouldn't leverage retirement to try to clear himself to go to a different team. I don't know that would be the case here. I don't know. But what I will say is when I heard the news, the first thing I thought was, I wonder how long the discussions were taking place between the Saints and Carr. And the reason why that was relevant to me was to kind of the point of, well, if they were to not have a good season, whether you want to call it tanking or not, if they don't have a good season, to inform your team in May that you're going to retire, I think that there's more leniency towards, what that coach's resume would be if they don't do as well. Being this late in the game, you had free agency. If you were going to retire ahead of free agency. Give the Saints, if you're doing this for the good of the team as well as your health, then give them a fair opportunity to go into the free agency pool and test out what they wanted to do. They may have gone after Aaron Rodgers or whatever, and they still could go after Aaron Rodgers. But I'm just saying, based upon where they were at going into the new league year, if you were really truly doing this to help them, then you make that tough decision a little earlier. I don't know that you make that tough decision in May. And that was, to me, my biggest question was, well, how much conversation was taking place between Carr and the Saints in terms of the seriousness and nature of this injury? Like, this is serious if you're saying it's something that will make me consider retirement, and then you ultimately choose retirement. That's a finality in some cases. I don't know if he's going to come back, but I just don't. I don't know, man. I think that doing this so late, that's what raises red flags to me. But I don't know. I look at it as that's when he made his decision, and he gave them money back. It's not like he stayed on the roster to collect money.
It's the same offseason that he reportedly asked for a trade, wasn't happy with where his contract was at, and then all of a sudden this shoulder injury pops up, and it's like it doesn't have to be career ending. He can go through the surgery or he can even rehab it, and they said, well, he could get back to about 75% if he does the surgery. It's like a 4 to 6 month timeline. And then you get this report from Jeff Nowak, who covers the Saints, who says that Kellen Moore never met with Derek Carr in person this offseason. Like the other people, Tyler Shuck never talked to him. Like there's a fracture there. Like there's something going on there. It's been weird all off season. And I just think that maybe if he was in a better place or a place he was happier in with a better contract or something he felt better about.
But you're saying better contract. He's forfeiting, what, $30 million he's walking away from?
But he also wasn't.
He gets to keep his $10 million.
Yeah, but
he got this spring.
He also wasn't happy with where he was at because he had the 1 year left. So I think if he was in a situation that he was happier with, I think he'd be more open-minded.
You think that he can? Well, you guys think that there's a possibility he could go get a contract of that value somewhere else?
Hold on. I think if he were in a situation that he were happier with, he'd be more open-minded to going through the surgery or coming back at 75% and going through the rehab. I just don't think he's happy there.
Before I get to LaVar's question, let me ask this: if the surgery, if the injury is so serious that he needs to retire, wouldn't you think he's going to get surgery anyway?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess what I'm saying
unless
is,
it's one of those deals where you can just go through life and not have to get the surgery, you're just not going to be able to do the things that you're doing as a quarterback throwing the ball. I mean, some people really do value trying to not get surgeries. Like, I'm not one of them. If I need surgery, I'm going to go get it. But some guys don't like it. Like, they feel like they could die or whatever. People have, their hang-ups or their phobias or whatever. So I don't know the case in that, if it's a for sure surgery, procedure situation. I don't know. I don't know if that's the conclusion I draw from it.
Right. I guess the way I'm looking at it is if he gets surgery, takes his time as he's retired this season, fast forward to 2026, he's 35 still, and has played some good football. You go back to the 2023 season, it wasn't like he had really a bad year. I know there's some Saints fans who weren't happy about it, but this is a league that's in dire need of quarterbacks. He threw for over 3,800, almost 3,900 yards, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. That was in 2023. They were 9-8 that year. And you go back through the other years, like he's been pretty consistently healthy. Maybe there's been a game here or there, but he's also been pretty productive and a good decision maker. So there will be suitors. There will be, like Joe Flacco might start for the Browns. Think about that. So when you ask, like, will there be a team that's going to pay him? Sure. Sam Darnold is
pay him what he wants.
Yeah, off of one season, Sam Darnold got a 3-year, $100 million contract. Off one season, $52.5 million total guaranteed. Are you telling me you don't think you can get that for Derek Carr?
Where he's at right now, I don't know. To walk away from $30 million, I don't feel like that's for the money. Because if it was about the money and you're not happy about it, then you stay and get your money. You get your surgery, you rehab, you get your money, and then you figure out what you're going to do from there. Like, you test the market out, whatever it may be, because you're not going to play for the Saints this year anyway.
I think
it's counterproductive to just walk away from that amount of money to think that, I'm going to go in the open market a year from now and get that type of a contract. I don't buy that. I don't agree with that.
But I think that he would look at it then, okay, then I'll rehab and come back for the $30 million. I'll play this year out, and this is a prove it year. And then he goes back to, but this team sucks. So what could his performance be with that team? I don't think he liked the situation.
If you're going to get the surgery anyway, Jonas, what does it matter? You're not going to come back and play. Why would you come back and play? You're not. So you're going to sit on the roster and you're going to collect your $30 million and you're going to roll out the next year. You go your separate ways.
It's not like he's going empty-handed. Like, they did give him the $10 million.
Okay.
But
you walked away from 30.
Well, here's the other thing: is that's not exactly how his contract is structured. So you keep using 30, but
it's 30 against their cap or whatever. To that point, he was.
Well, yeah, that doesn't matter to him if he's already been paid that money. Like, what does it matter, right? Or if that's a future, amount.
That is an amount that would go to him if he was still on the roster. Correct. I could be wrong.
So
that's the way I read it.
Two things. He's going to get hit with a cap. They're going to get hit with a cap hit regardless. But his base salary this year is only 1.25. So they restructured his bonus and will get something a little north of that. But I'm still looking through his contract trying to figure out where they get the $30 million from.
Yeah, I don't know. I saw $10 million. He got $10 million. There was a possibility for 40 for the year, which means that he's walking away basically from $30 million. That's how I saw it. I don't know all the details. I don't claim to be a contract guy. But that's just kind of how I read it.
Right. So
I don't know.
There's a base salary of 40 next year. There's a signing proration that's a part of that. There's a restructured proration that was part of the bonus. So there's a number of things that are in here, but it doesn't show that. So unless what I'm looking at doesn't have the updated contract, which is a bit surprising, and also the way they constructed the contract is somewhat unique. Remember, this is a Saints team that used a very similar strategy with Drew Brees. They tagged on voidable years to the end of the contract. So 2027, 2028, 2029. Technically, based on his contract, he can become a free agent in 2027. But that would still mean he has 2 years left on his deal, this year and 2026. So there's a couple options if what you're saying is right, Jonas. If he wants to get out of this contract, he's got to retire basically or throw up a bigger fuss to try to get them to trade him. And it sounds like whatever happened earlier this year didn't work out.